everyone, and thanks for watching our demo today. My name is Jeff Will, and I'm a product manager here at Wallaroo. Just a little bit about me. I lead the product areas of model deployment and management, so I have a vested interest in making that experience as seamless as possible, which is part of what we're going to talk about today. Throughout my career, I've worked across product development, implementation, and solution architecture with a focus on using data products to make complex decision-making simple. So let's dive into how Wallaroo works with Databricks to do just that. Wallaroo is the perfect partner to Databricks because it picks up where Databricks leaves off. In the MLOps lifecycle, Databricks is great at loading and prepping data from your data sources and developing ML models, but benefits from Wallaroo's production deployment capabilities. So Wallaroo gives you scale by creating a repeatable production model operations process, makes it easy to learn by allowing you to deploy models using Wallaroo in existing ML tools. It ensures efficiency and business continuity by using familiar tools and reducing change management overhead for production ML, and adds actionability by measuring and taking timely, preventative, and corrective actions in the observability portion of Wallaroo. So with that, let's get started. And here I am in Azure Databricks, or in Azure, and I'm going to go into Databricks. I am using my sales demo instance. So I am going to launch my workspace here, which I've already got up and running. And as you'll see within my workspace, I have a notebook already uploaded, my Wallaroo anomaly detection. I also have my repo connected. So within our set of tutorials here, that's where my source data is, that's where my model is. And I've already got all of that set up within Databricks the same way you would within your organization. So we're going to use our a well-known, the Boston housing model that predicts housing prices based on a set of inputs. And I'm going to walk you through how we connect to Wallaroo, deploy a model, import our libraries, the whole 9 yards. On our compute cluster, can just install our library. So I've already got Wallaroo. It's available on PyPy, so you can just pull it straight down to your cluster and then import it into your notebook super easily, super streamlined. So let's pull that into our notebook. The next thing we're going to do, again, using the Wallaroo SDK, which we've now imported, we are going to connect to our instance. In this case, I'm using an instance that we affectionately call Squishy Wallaroo. That is the name for it. So it has a prefix, suffix. We'll set all this up, very straightforward stuff. And then it will give me a login command if I'm not already logged in, but in this case, I am. So we will then move on to a helper function here we have to create our workspace. So I'm naming it anomaly and my initials here. So that is running very quickly. And here we have our workspace name. The next step is we're going to upload our model. So in this command, I've named it anomaly housing model. I've given it my path from my repo, and I'm telling it that it is a TensorFlow model. So all of that I will upload, and we're good. So let's then build the pipeline. So again, our pipelines are our inferencing workflows. So I'm going to create a pipeline, calling it anomaly housing pipeline, but in this step, it will be mostly empty in this one line of code. Then I add a model using our add model step, and then I add a validation. This is where we do our anomaly detection. In this case, I'm setting it up to detect whenever our house price prediction is more than 100. In our model, that means it's more than $1 million home, and we don't think our model is sufficiently accurate at that point. So we want to know when our model is predicting something too high. And lastly, all in one command, I can deploy that all at the same time. So I'm creating and deploying my pipeline all at the same time. And there you have it. We now have a pipeline up and running. But to prove that to you, I'm going to run a normal prediction here, meaning within our, I know that this is going to yield one within our valid range. So if I run this command, I see there are no check failures, and my prediction is a 10, $100,000, give or take. And we can also see our anomaly detection work. So this one I know is not going to fit within our range. So we see our check failure is false. And we see that the value down here is 350 or $3.5 million. So well above what we are expecting. Lastly, I want to show you running multiple tests through the system. So I'm going to run a set of data that I have, I'm going to run 400 inferences and see what the distribution looks like. The idea here being that if you're a data scientist, you want to make sure your validation check is at the right place. You don't want too many alarms. You don't want to miss things that really are outside the range. So let's run through and see what a distribution looks like. This set of 400 is done running. So I'm going to import a couple more libraries and then look at the distribution. So if you're the data scientist, you might look at this and say, well, this line is sufficient for the anomalies we have, but we could maybe be a little bit tighter if we aren't sure that we can predict housing prices closer to the $1 million range. So maybe you look at that and say, let's adjust our validation check, and you can then adjust the step back in the pipeline. So if you do see this too, and you know anomalies are happening, how do you look at them, right? Because you probably want to understand how often is this happening? What are their values? Do we need to do something to adjust the model? So I am going to pull from my pipeline logs where my valid equals false, aka my validation check failed, and we have an anomaly. And we will see a list of the anomalies in the logs. You can see I've been running this same anomaly over the last several days. And we can then look at these, look at the inputs and say, why are we getting these inputs? You can do your analysis to validate whether it's worth solving for this or not. And last but not least, just as good cleanliness practice, we undeploy pipelines that are not in use to free up the resources. If this is in production, obviously, you're going to want to leave it there. You're not undeploying all the time. But if you're doing testing with the model as you're getting it into production, validating the thing and the pipeline, validating that all the configs are correct, you don't need it running all the time. So I am going to undeploy this. And with that, that concludes our demo today and tutorial. If you have questions, we'd love to hear them. If there are things you would like to learn more in depth about, please let us know. Thanks for your time.